Hey everyone, 2 years. 2 years, that's how long it's been since we've had the Toyota Mirai. This is a 2022 Toyota Mirai XLE. For those of you that have been watching the channel, have seen this plenty of times, but I wanted to make this video to kind of share my experience with the car for the past 2 years. Let's go. Secondly, I'll be talking about the practicality, kind of day-to-day living of the car. Aesthetically, I have my own opinions. I think it still looks fantastic. We got the car with the dealer added powder coated wheels, black wheels. This is the standard XLE wheel with black trim, or a black powder coat. We did have the black badging. Sorry, the car is a bit dirty, but the black badging that was dealer installed as well. So the black badging there too. We also had the rear tints on from the dealer, and then also the kind of protection film here for your fingers. And I think that was pretty much it from the dealer side. Let's see. Of course, we have our stickers, not dealer option. If you want one, let me know. And then badges. So I think that was pretty much it. There is some protection film as well on the door sill from the dealer. But other than that, a pretty much standard Toyota Mirai 22 XLE. Let's talk about reliability. The car has been great in terms of every time we start the car, there are pretty much there's no issues. There have been no issues in the past 2 years in terms of drivability, usability, and things like that. Everything has been working as planned. The car runs great, no major issues. The only one issue, minor issue that was addressed was the rear subframe. There was, the bushings are still, they're creaking a bit. Does it affect the drivability? No, but that was done. But unfortunately, I'm starting to hear it again. But again, not a catastrophic issue, if you will. So other than that, the car's been great. I'm not going to talk about the infrastructure per se, because that's separate from the car itself, even though it is heavily integral to the usage of the car. So outside of that, the car drives really well. It's very compliant. It's a very supple ride. When you're under load on turns and one wheel gets upset because of a bump or whatnot, it doesn't get unsettled. So overall driving experience, fantastic. Looks, we think it's great. Livability with this for day-to-day life has been mostly good. The reason why I say mostly, well, let's go to kind of the rear trunk space and the rear seat area. So with the rear seats, when we had guests or passengers, excuse the umbrella in the bag there, but if we had passengers back here, they've been pretty dang tight. This is my driving position, which is a little further up than most, I would say. But you could just see that from there. The rear legroom is not very good, and the headroom, not too good either. So for such a large vehicle, this is 195 inches, I believe. So it's pretty big. And the center seat is almost unusable with that humongous, what would be a transmission hump for a lot of other cars. It's a tank in the middle. Makes it almost unusable there. And this opening is extremely tight. So if you want to get in and out of the car, it's a little cumbersome there. So if you have kids or like an elderly person, probably not ideal. So that was not ideal. And what makes it even less ideal for us in our 2 years of ownership, again, apologize for the trash, the trunk space is not very good. I've mentioned this in many videos, but just going to the grocery store, and especially when you're trying to buy some small IKEA stuff, it doesn't fit. And it almost never fits in the rear seat as well. So you're kind of stuck. It's not very practical at all in terms of a storage or kind of carrying bigger things. Even golf clubs barely fit in this opening. It does fit, but you kind of have to shimmy your way in. and the rear seats don't fold down. So there are many times when we live with the car that we were not too happy about that, and it made life a little bit harder. I'm gonna go back on my word and talk about the infrastructure a little bit, because it does play into the 2-year experience. Though it's not directly related to the car in terms of, or I guess it is, but it's not the car's fault per se. The experience with Toyota, I guess, has to be mentioned. And naturally, 2 years we've had the car. We've had three rentals due to infrastructure failures, and that was comped by Toyota. And fuel is also comped by Toyota, 1 tank a day, which is more than enough for pretty much anyone, I would say. So with that being said, it's overall customer service has been really great with Toyota. Unfortunately, those calls and situations came about and are extremely annoying, but the way Toyota's handled it so far, I would say, has been pretty good. No, this is not a sponsored video, it's just our honest take. And using the Mirai swap has been pretty solid. So what that is, for those of you that don't know or are curious about it, if you own a new, up until this point, or when we purchased the car, you have 3 years or 21 days. You get 21 days of rental, or 3 years, or it expires in 3 years. To use a rental car and go out of state or whatever you need to do. You don't need to give them a reason, but you can do that through Toyota. With that being said, we only have a year left and we haven't used much of it, so it's a good reminder for us. But yes, you can rent a car and go places. You obviously can't go very far with these. For us though, in our life stage, my wife and I, we don't really go many places that require infrastructure essentially. So we're okay. But overall, it's been pretty good to live with. I mentioned this in another video, but turning radius is not good on this car. It turns like a boat. It's a large car, granted, for sure, but I don't know how the packaging is done on the inside, but it does not turn in tight areas very well at all. But there is a 360 camera, which is fantastic. Power. I think power has to be mentioned. On our day-to-day life, we live in LA County, Orange County. We frequent those two areas pretty often. The power isn't good enough. I would say, from my experience, it's substantial. It's like, if I had to compare to cars I've driven, like a Honda Civic amount of power. Honda Civic's not a Honda Civic Sport, but kind of a stock Honda Civic in terms of the feel and acceleration you get. Obviously the power delivery is a little different, but it is not fast, it's not quick, but it'll get you places. And probably this is going to change your driving habits, and that leads me into that. Driving habits, they've changed tremendously since we've owned this car. The way you're supposed to drive or should drive to maximize your range, it's been heavily, especially with the infrastructure and hydrogen prices as of late, our driving habits have changed tremendously. I stay usually on the right side of the highway now, usually going around the speed limit, let's call it that, but going with the flow of traffic, but definitely the slower side. And even on streets, stop and go traffic, very light on the throttle. These are all general habits that you should do with any car if you want to save on fuel, but especially with a hydrogen vehicle, it's going to affect much more than what I've seen in a petrol car. Let's go back to the maintenance, if you will, or kind of, what do you call that? Wear and tear items. So brakes, tires, things like that. None of them have been changed so far. The car has roughly 22,000 miles on it, mostly highway driving. And we've done a tire rotation to do that. So it's a square setup, which is good, but brakes have not been changed and the tires have not been changed. With that being said, I would say that the tires probably need to be changed relatively soon, probably in another year or so, but haven't changed those two yet. And with Toyota Care, I think it's 3 years for a brand new one. We shouldn't need to pay out of pocket. We have not paid out of pocket for any maintenance So that's a huge plus. And we knew that going in and considering this purchase. So $0 have been spent in terms of maintenance over the past 2 years for this car. So yeah. We've talked about maintenance. We've talked about the overall look and feel. I would say 2 years overall, pretty happy with the car. We don't have kids, my wife and I, but I could imagine if I had kids, this would be kind of annoying to live with, to be honest, especially with the infrastructure and stability. But yeah, the car's been great. I feel like this gets a lot more attention than our other cars that we have. But yeah, car's been great. Unfortunately, the fueling, and we've talked about that many times, is not great. But overall, 2 years, again, just to recap, 2 years, it's been zero cost in terms of maintenance out of pocket for us. Nothing has been changed in terms of wear and tear items, so tires, brakes, for the most part. Everything's been taken care of by the dealership. Obviously, the infrastructure has been a little wonky, but even the subframe bushings have been taken care of. So zero cost. The only costs going out are the tires, the car payment, obviously, insurance, of course. But other than that, nothing out of pocket so far. That was one of the appeals of this car. And for those of you that just joined or just are learning more about this car, the reason why I say none out of pocket when it comes to fueling is because it comes with a $15,000 fuel card, or 6 years, whatever comes first for brand new. And I believe for certified pre-owned, you get 3 years, $15,000, which with today's prices, you are not going past 3 years unless you're not using this car. So 15,000 sounds like a lot, but when you look at hydrogen prices, full tanks ranging anywhere from give or take $180, that's not going to last very long. And especially with $180, you're getting usually around 320 miles of range. So range anxiety hasn't been too bad for us. We're pretty good on that, and we work from home. So if I was to commute with this car, I would be pretty stressed out. But so far for us, it's been okay. There are a couple instances where we had to wait at the fuel pump because we needed the car the next day. But for us, 2 years has been pretty good, pretty smooth, I would say. No major recalls or anything like that. It's only the fueling. Car itself looking beautiful, based off the Lexus LS chassis. The 2022 Toyota Mirai XLE that we picked up 2 years ago. Let the journey continue.